everyone. I'm here with Meg from Meg It Rain, an Etsy seller, a side hustler, and YouTuber, and she's here to share her story with us. Hi, Meg.
Hey.
I was wondering how you heard about print on demand, how you got started, how you decided to make this kind of the side hustle you were going to try.
Yeah, so I, like a lot of people, was sitting at home and was really interested in doing some sort of like side project. Obviously, it would be ideal if it was something that I could do without a ton of money up front and from my couch, just because I was not ready to like buy a business or anything like that. And so I was just searching online for different side hustles. I came upon a couple of different ones. Obviously, drop shipping was one, but I wasn't really sure about the experience of drop shipping. And then after a little bit more Googling and YouTube searching, I happened upon print on demand, and it seemed like that perfect mixture of like very little upfront cost. You can get started literally from your laptop and you don't have to buy a lot of inventory. And it had like a creative element that I thought would be fun for like a hobby, even if it didn't end up becoming anything commercial. And yeah, that's kind of how I got started.
Yeah, I started drop shipping. I tried that before, and yeah, I spent so much money on ads, and then I started making sales, and I was like, oh my God, I can make this work until every single person like requested a refund because it took like 2 months to come and the quality was horrible. And I was like, oh no, I need to find something else.
Yeah, that was my fear. I had lots of friends that started during COVID and they did like a bunch of really cool like at-home hobby kits. And they had the same type of feedback where they were like, yeah, it just like would never make it. And I was like, that is a big fear of mine. So luckily, print on demand is not like that.
Yep. Was there other side hustles you had tried before? Or was kind of your first one?
This was really my first one. I really kind of have really just gone like the 9 to 5 route for the majority of my life and wanted something that was kind of more of my own that I could do and actually own it and potentially sell it as an asset one day. So luckily I happened upon it early.
And so you said you started during COVID, your print on demand store?
I started like doing my research. It was actually late COVID, so it was 2022. Yeah, it was 2022, and towards the tail end of that year that I finally started getting some listings live. I originally started with both Etsy and Shopify, but very quickly pivoted like all of my efforts into Etsy, just given that I was having more success there. But yeah, end of 2022.
Yeah, I think for a lot of people, they try to start both. And it's really hard to start both because they're so different. Like, you might have the same products, but I've recently started learning Shopify and getting my Shopify store up. But just how, not that much stuff is transferable. So I couldn't imagine trying to nail down both of them at once.
Yeah, and my background, like my 9 to 5 is in like digital marketing, like Google ads, Facebook ads, all those different types of things. And so I figured like, oh, maybe I'd be able to, I thought I was actually going to have more luck with the Shopify side of things. But when, everything came down to it, it actually just made more sense with Etsy. And a lot of that is just due to the fact that you have to actually pay to generate the traffic. And while you
Yeah.
can do it with e-commerce, it's really only going to be, if you're really good, like a 3 to 4x return on investment with your dollars. And with print on demand, our margins are already small, so you could
Yeah.
do it, but for me, it was harder to make it actually make sense economically.
Yeah, exactly. And you're paying like the monthly fee. And I'm same. I
Hmm.
actually started like my 9 to 5 before. Same was doing like Google ads, all the ads as well. So I had the exact same thought. But for me, I almost went to Etsy because I was like, I am so sick of ads. I need a break from ads. But then trying to get back into it like 3 years later, I was like, oh, this is harder than I remember, and I've forgotten a lot.
Yeah, no, I hear that.
And how long did it take for you to start seeing traction, yeah, in your Etsy store?
Yeah, so in my Etsy store, I think I got things listed in like December 2022, threw a couple of things up there, and I did not follow the advice that I talk about on my channel now. I really wish that I had watched more videos of yourself and other folks that were online kind of explaining to pick a niche and choose whether that's a product or if it is something that's a little bit more specific or cross niche. I decided I was going to go straight in for like the one of the broadest niches of like bridesmaid and then just do everything. I do like t-shirts, mugs, candles, everything. And so clearly that strategy didn't work, and it didn't work also because things weren't like ridiculously differentiated. I took like a minimalist style, which is like there's
Yeah.
definitely a place for it. But after throwing up a bunch of those, finally one product sold. And that took like 2 months to even get my first sale. But
Yeah.
after that first sale came in, it got its reviews. I kept kind of iterating and just put all of my time into just that one product. From there, it really kind of grew. So by the end of that first year, so 2022 kind of came and went throughout all of 2023, I grew that shop to $155,000 of revenue all
Wow.
through Etsy.
That's amazing. And do you find a lot of those sales came from one listing, or was it that original listing, or did you keep growing and kind of get a little bit of, yeah, different products selling or different niches selling?
Yeah, so I kept with like the same niche. I differentiated a little bit, but initially I basically saw what happened on that initial listing, which in transparency, what was really cool is nothing was selling, and then I got an email from somebody being like, "Hey, can you personalize this with?" It was basically like a Be My Bridesmaid product, and they're like, "Can you customize it for Be My Bridesman?" And I want another one for Man of Honor. And I saw that there wasn't like a lot of those products in this space. And it was more like bridesmaid, maid of honor centric. And there were these other folks that were in the wedding party that just, sure, you could reach out for a custom one, but they weren't just like blanket listings. And so
Hmm.
that's where I kind of got my foothold was I just started launching a bunch more in that space where it wasn't directed to bridesmaids and maids of honors. It was these different folks in the wedding party that there wasn't as much search penetration for and there weren't as many listings for. And then soon, when my listings started ranking in that niche, then I started launching more into like bridesmaid, maid of honor, those types of things because my shop had already had a lot of reviews. It all stayed within the wedding niche. Eventually, probably about halfway through the year, I branched out to more just like gifting occasions. So
Hmm.
everything within like the gifting realm of like birthday. I tried doing a little bit of the more occupational, so I have some of those too, but still my bread and butter is mainly the bachelorette, bridesmaid, wedding party niche.
That's amazing. I do really think like when people are first starting, like, yeah, go for those. It can be hard to think of, like exactly like you mentioned. Sometimes you're like, you wouldn't even think to create like a bridesman shirt, but it takes a lot of like reflection of like for me, it was a hobby. Like my first bestseller, I was really into like ice baths, and
Hmm.
like breath work. And I looked up and I was like, I don't like, I know the type of people that I meet that are into this are like super into it. But there was no shirts or anything for it yet really on Etsy or anywhere. So listing them, I was like, I don't know if these even get searches, but they sold when you're the only option. So I think that's great for a new seller to like start getting your first sales, is just to find a way to be super, super specific and niche for people.
Yeah, exactly. And I would email them or message them through Etsy and I would say like, thank you so much. Like I'm just getting started. What are your thoughts? And they would have like really robust feedback of like, I would love this design or maybe, like the pricing's a little bit expensive. And so it gave me like real-time feedback on what people were liking about my shops. That way I could incorporate that. And one person was like, oh, that I wasn't really, the sizing wasn't clear. So I made sure to like incorporate that into my listing copy to make it uber clear so that way if people saw that in the future. So yeah, I feel like if you have an idea, obviously validate it with data if you can, as we should. But
Mhm.
if there are things that don't exist out there, then that's probably a better path to take than the path that's just doing something that has so many options already on the market.
Exactly. And you mentioned research. Do you find a lot of your like new things that you put up are based on research first? Sometimes are you just like, I have an idea and I'm going to list it. Like where do you kind of start with when you're coming up with like a new design?
I would say for me, it's like 70-30. I would say I still 70% of the time will just do something based off of like what's trending from whether that's like a design style or a specific like in my blank era type of thing that was
Yeah.
really popular this year. So I'm looking into like what's selling across the space. But there will also be times where I'm just like, there's nothing specific to this, but I'm gonna throw it up because I think it's funny. And out of that percentage, half the time it's like I'll get a few sales, and the other half the time they still sit there with no sales. So that's more of like my creative piece. It's like, oh, I like somebody's gonna find this one day, and like literally in 6 months it's gonna become a bestseller. But in the meantime, it'll just be there and bolster more of a shop excitement.
Yeah, yeah, I know. So many people are just like very like it needs to be researched, but I'm exactly like you. Like I'll do a lot of research, but sometimes if I have an idea, it's just like it'll take me an hour to post this. So it doesn't cost me anything to test. So sometimes I just throw things up in my store. I'm like, if it never makes a sale, great. But if my intuitions are right and like I've just created something new in a brand new niche, like that's awesome too.
Yeah, I'm the exact same way.
And what tools do you usually use in your store? Like, are you doing research right in Etsy with Everbee?
Yeah, so I utilize Everbee pretty much every day, taking a look at the space to see what's new and what's trending. Obviously, like right now, it's a very exciting time, being that it's Q4 and it's gifting season. So I use Everbee for that. I use eRank every now and then for keyword research too. I then utilize mainly the Kittle and Canva for my design work. And pretty much that's all the software that I think I pay for. Obviously, I have Printify Premium as well too, but for the most part, that's my stack.
Yeah, that's kind of about my stack too. I don't like to go too crazy with adding too many things and like trying to like I don't know, get the research from everywhere because that can just be really confusing too. Focus helps. Um, do you remember when you made your first sale, how many listings you had?
Yeah, I think I had like 25 to 30 listings in
That's
my
awesome.
shop. So it was pretty small, and that's why I was literally crazy for thinking that this was I was gonna get any sales with that. I remember when it came in, I was like sitting on my couch and I saw, and it was actually a an order to Canada. And I like jump up and I like run over to my boyfriend, now fiance. I was like, got my first sale, and I was, for like the next 3 days, I was just worried that they were gonna cancel and it was gonna be like
Yeah.
fake. Um, but it was somebody that I had, like I mentioned, they had reached out to me. So like, okay, I figured it was actually going to move forward with. But yeah, I didn't have as many as I should have. But once I literally got that first glimmer of this is what somebody wanted to buy, that's when I started going crazy. I think today I have 280 in my shop.
That's insane though. Like I think about like I didn't make my first sale even till like 70 listings. But I was the same as you. Like when I started, I did no research. I didn't know what the research is. I found any template I could, I put it on a t-shirt with really bad mock-ups. Um, so yeah, when I started my store, it was just not great. I didn't listen to YouTubers at all either. But yeah, I don't think I made my first sale for till 70 listings in around like 5 weeks. So around like the same amount of time as you ish. But just yeah, for people to know, like it can take some time. Like you can't list like 10 listings and wait for most people and expect a sale the next day, which I think a lot of people kind of expect on Etsy quite a bit before they give up.
Yeah, I agree. And I think that's one of the main reasons why I started my YouTube channel. I really don't view myself as like a YouTuber, but I found like this is something for me that I had zero anticipation was going to turn into a six-figure revenue business. I always like to be transparent. That is revenue, that is not profit. But that's why I launched my channel, Make It Rain, was I wish that I had seen somebody's picture on my screen and I could have continued to like follow them and understand those types of pieces because I'm still very fortunate for the journey that I had. But for people that are like, no, I want this to work and I'm really wanting to put my best foot forward to making it work, there is a smarter path to take that I didn't take. And so if I can pass any of that knowledge down, I would do that.
Yes, exactly. And where is your store kind of at now? So it's been about like 2.5 years that you've been on. How much are you like working on it? Is it still growing or what's the current like status?
Yes, so I still run my Etsy shop this year with just my 9 to 5 since I do still have a 9 to 5. I do not put as much time into my Etsy shop as I did my first year. So the first year I did 155K of revenue for the full year, so for 2023. So far 2024 to date, I'm sitting at about 75K of revenue. So I still have another 5 weeks left of a very big retail time, but I likely won't hit this same revenue that I did in 2023. And that is for a lot of reasons. A couple of them are, and most people that are watching this might be starting their own Etsy shop. You will get copied. Your designs, if they're great and they are original, they will get copied. And there is a way that you can, there are avenues you could take to suppress that. But again, this is something that is a side project for me, and I'm not trying to make it be more stressful than it is exciting and fun. So that has kind of pulled traffic away from my shop. I also, when I launched my shop, we had just come out of that like era of COVID where everybody like paused getting engaged, and then it
Ah,
ended, and so there was this huge rush of like bridesmaid, bridal, like all the people. They're like, I'm finally asking these people to be in my wedding party, so that kind of moved through. So that was another piece too. And then yeah, I just haven't dedicated as much time to it because I'm always liking to learn, and I've enjoyed running that, letting that run on autopilot, and
yeah.
doing more of the content side of things, which has been like a new skill that I wanted to hone and build, of making videos and showing people how they can kind of launch this own business on their own. So yeah, it ebbs and flows, but nowadays I'm probably only spending about 15 minutes a day making sure everything's operating properly,
Mhm.
approving orders, maybe throwing up a new design, checking in with a customer service type of questions, and then maybe a little bit more time on the weekends. But it's gotten more to that passive point that I would say it was not when I was really like, let's go early
For
on
sure.
in launching it.
Yeah, when you're trying to get up tons of listings, like you're dedicating, like same thing. I was like after work on it while I watch reality TV shows in the back. Um, yeah, it's a lot of work to get started. It's like not fast at all, but it is worth it because it does. Like I know people saying worked on it for months and then something in their life came up that they couldn't look at their store for a few months and were still able to make again mostly passive sales, not passive because there's customer service, which is arguably my least favorite part of the print on demand business. Do you have like a least favorite part of it?
Yeah, I would say customer service is one. I will say though that I am shocked. I thought it was going to be like way more apparent than it is. Like I thought, okay, for every like five things I ship out, two of them there's going to be an issue, like whatever. And that really isn't the case, so that's been really good.
Hmm.
I've been a little bit vocal on my shop recently about one of the suppliers that I use has shipping delays recently, and so it's been a bit more of work to like update all my listings to have the right timing or shift those listings over. So that
Yeah.
type of more of supply chain slash customer service is a bit more dramatic in the last couple of months, but I love all the creative stuff, so that's probably my favorite piece.
Me too. Yeah, when I can like when I have it like when you're feeling the creative juice and you like can just like focus and you get out like a ton in one day, it feels so good. And it's good to hear that you like it. There's so I feel like a lot of people start too just because they hear that you can make money from it, but like and this needs to be something that you love to do. I've had so many friends that started because like I told them about how my store was doing. And then a month and I'm like, how's it doing? They're like, I hate uploading. I hate all of it. My sister was going, she had like a store that was making sales, but she closed it because she just hated whenever she got any customer service, hated uploading. So it's really important before. Were you kind of in a creative field before or what? How did you get to graphic design?
No graphic design experience, actually. So that's funny. I grew up like, I'm not an artist. I've done random community service stuff that's artistic, but I absolutely had zero design experience. I like to think that I can look at something and say, oh, that looks good and whatever. But I have multiple Pinterest boards. I'm more of like a mood boarder. I can see a couple of things and be like, yeah, that's the vibe.
Yeah.
But to give confidence to anybody out there, there are so many awesome tools that exist. If
Yeah.
you need inspiration and don't know really where to start, as long as you have an idea and you're willing to like tinker with things, like you said, you had 70 listings up before you really got your traction. Like there's no harm in listing things, but I mainly utilize those tools and did not have that experience before I got started.
Yeah, yeah, especially like with Kittle recently, especially like this year. Like I actually use Kittle for most of my designs
Yep.
and we'll start from like a template quite a bit. More so than ever. I did find like Canva you had to be a little bit more creative versus yeah, Kittle it's like I'll remove a lot of things in them, but it just gives me this good like great starting point.
Yeah, I agree. It gives me so much confidence being able to go in there and just see things because it's easy for me to see. That's my process. I'll go in there, I'll like bookmark a lot of things. I'm like, this is cool. Like I could do something with this, and then how would I adapt that? And yeah, copying, pasting, adding a bunch of artboards and like moving things around. Love Kittle.
Yeah. What's your opinion on AI and using that in your designs?
Yeah, I like it more so for the ideation process. I still think that we're on the precipice of like AI coming and changing everything when it comes to design and retail and pretty much every field. For me, I haven't utilized it for a lot of my best-selling designs in the sense of creating a bunch of different like AI generated images and things like that. I use
Mhm.
it every now and then for like small elements. Luckily, a lot of these platforms have, if I think of something, I can probably find a pretty good image of something. If I'm looking for like a very specific piece, I can probably find that. Where I utilize AI a lot for now is less so for the design, but more on like helping me think of funny sayings that are different. Sometimes I'll
Me
go into
too.
ChatGPT or Gemini and throw in like, give me more funny sayings that are similar to this. And it may be good, it may be bad, but it at least gets me thinking about something differently. And then I have been playing around with it quite a bit for my listings in terms of like headlines, descriptions, the boxes that all the boxes that we have to kind of check, playing around
Mhm.
with that as well, because I think that there is so much opportunity to ask the system for an SEO optimized piece and then allow it to kind of spit something out, especially if you're having listings that aren't performing well. So that's how I've been kind of tinkering with it.
Yeah. Yeah, it's pretty much the main case I use it for too is like, yeah, write me 30 punny t-shirt ideas for this niche. And yeah, some of them are so lame, but some of them are like really, really good. And you're like, "Oh, I would have never thought of that." And then you get 30 at once. Chances are maybe you'll get like one or two that you like.
Yeah, yeah, it's very powerful. Or things like that if you're like me and you're wanting to get started, it could be interesting to see like what field or what niche are you interested in and what are different names for grandma that you could like add to that because there's probably a ton that I've never thought of. Or same thing, are there different bridal party folks that, what is every type of person name criteria that could be in that that would allow you to have all that list because it scrapes like what the whole web.
Yeah. And for a lot of your like bestsellers, a lot of designs that you do, would you say they're like on the simpler side, the more complicated side, text-based, not text-based?
Everything is very simple. I would say 60% is mainly text-based, so it's just going to be funny sayings and different typography and making it look a little bit more like elegant because there's multiple text styles. The other percentage is maybe text and a couple graphics, but there is nothing that is so involved that what you would look at it and say, wow, that's like designed by somebody very professional. So they've all just been fitting the needs of people have this like a gift that they need or this event that they need something for, and they just want something simple and clear cut. So it's been pretty straightforward for my designs.
Yeah, I do very simple designs and like very good like simple designs do well. Yeah, I find that sometimes like the more complicated ones or the ones where I try to use colors are just like not my best sellers, and then I'll just recreate the design in just a white, like just all white, and then it does so much better.
Yeah, I'm really wanting to experiment in 2025 with more of like the TikTok shop element because I feel like if you have the right marketing elements associated with that listing and like where you'd wear that and those types of things, whether it be like a really cool like graphic t-shirt, I think that will perform really well. But a lot of them I feel like need to be like a video or like have like see it on a person to see like how it all flows and everything. So that's probably going to be more of my like 2025 agenda items to test more into like the really cool graphic tees.
Yeah, I've been saving a lot of like when I'm going through like TikTok and Instagram, just saving reels of like things that are obviously print on demand. And like some of them get so many views. And like I used to think, oh, like I don't have like the photography or like the camera is good enough to make these. But some of them are literally like the shirt on the floor and someone's like hovering over it and like or someone just walking down the street wearing it. Like they're a lot simpler than I thought they would be.
Yeah, and I think that there's this trend now that the carousels on like TikTok are doing really well. So just like the images. So I'm like, I'm gonna play around with that. Yeah.
Interesting. I need to play around and see if I have that. My TikTok's different because it's TikTok Canada, which sucks. I've never seen TikTok Shop, unfortunately. And I don't think the carousels. Granted, I've been on Instagram Reels a whole lot more than TikTok lately. I
Fair.
need to go check that. But I would love to be on TikTok Shop. I've heard so many good things from people selling on it.
Yeah, I'm still brand new too. I didn't have TikTok before this year and I got it just for the business. So that'll be an exciting part two to this interview maybe.
Yeah, and like TikTok's the whole reason I'm doing content now. Like I never expected to be a content creator, but it started with me just making a TikTok about my Etsy shop, which blew up to like 800,000 views, which like I don't think on any other platform that kind of reach would have happened for someone's like early account, which can happen for, yeah, print on demand people too.
Yeah, and it just takes one, and that's kind of how like the Etsy algorithm would work too. Is like if you do well and it's something that's different, they'll boost you up there. And then once you get your sales coming through, it's like it's just the algorithm. It's just the algorithms. It's AI. It's all
Yeah,
out there, and we're just here trying to use it the best we can.
exactly. And I don't think I asked you before, but what's your best-selling product now? So you mentioned you started with a bunch of products. Have you narrowed it down to one product now, or are you back to kind of a few different ones?
I'm down to a few different ones, but mainly it falls within like the t-shirt bucket, bags, and candles. So those are the three that I play around with the most. Probably an equal split across all of those. And it's because originally it was the candle that performed really well, and then I think that that got a little bit more saturated. So I've just expanded with the same idea of different types of footholds within the bridesmaid and bridal party space to different products, and that's performed pretty good for me.
Yeah, I see. I think those three are like the perfect for like your niche, especially. And do you find like I used to always sell Bella Canvas, but now I've started selling like Comfort Colors this year. Which like t-shirt brand do you find does best?
Yeah, I actually never have sold a Bella Canvas tee. I came in like right after that wave, so I'm a bit of an
Mhm.
old head in that space. But so I mainly do comfort colors. I've been testing around too, and I've talked a little bit about this on my channel. I think that print on demand has an total opportunity to become even more luxurious. And I think we saw that with like people willing to spend a little bit more from Bella Canvas to Comfort Colors. It's like a little bit heavier weight, it's a bit more vintage, like cool washes. And I think that we're seeing more of that. So I'm testing around with other brands. Like I think it's All Color is another one, Lane 7. So just like
Yeah.
different things like that, and seeing if those like higher, if marketing them as more of like a premium is a good like upsell. But with that means you need to put a bit more time into your mock-ups and things like that. So it's always a process, as you know.
Yeah, exactly. And exactly what you're doing now, a lot of testing. Like I'm still doing testing in my store all the time. Do you duplicate listings and test different mock-ups, or do you do a lot of testing?
Yeah, I haven't, I need to be doing more of it, but once every couple of months I'm going through and I'm looking to see like, okay, has this listing had four renewals and hasn't sold anything? If I've given it like if I've given it like 9 months or so and it hasn't really sold, especially since I've only been doing this for like a little over 2 years now, then I will either deactivate it because it just potentially, or like let it expire, or I'll go in and I'll start making tweaks to it. And whether that just be like headline images, like switching out the different criteria for materials used or listing description, those types of pieces. And then if I do have a listing that's performing really well, I will duplicate that for like different size options and different products just to see if I can continue to find those different like opportunities of people that like that design but couldn't find it in a different product. So constantly doing that.
Yeah. When it comes to pricing for you, then are you, I know there's two different strategies. Some people price super cheap and then have that thing that's kind of off. Do you find doing that loss or that like low pricing has worked for your store? Or are you kind of more on the end and you'll have like you're more of a transparent, I guess, like price? Do you find pricing to be an issue, I guess?
Yeah, I'm more on the transparent side, and that's just like personal preference because of how I am
Mhm.
as a shopper. Like I get really annoyed for myself if I go in there and it's like, oh, it's 9.99. I click into it and it's like a baby tea, and I'm like,
Yeah.
ah. So I don't do that for myself. I have always just gone with kind of like market price, which that's why initially when I first started, I was like asking folks. I was like obviously looking across Etsy to be like, okay, what are these things going for? And then when I got my first several listings, I would ask people like, okay, is this, how is the pricing? And if I got feedback that it was too high, maybe I'd offer like a little bit of a deeper discount. My
Mhm.
current strategy is I offer everything in my shop, free shipping over $35, and then I have a like a 10 to 15% discount that I'll constantly run just so I can have that like price off badge allowed.
Yeah.
But I'm okay, given that this is a side project for me and I'm consistently okay with like learning and iterating and I just enjoy it. I'm okay with taking a little bit less margin. I know a lot of folks in this space are like 20 to 30% is kind of that sweet spot-ish. I sit under that. When I did that $155,000 of revenue in 2023, that worked out to be about 18% profit. I have a full video on it in my channel if anybody wants to take a look of just like super transparently what I pay and like product costs and everything like that. So I am pricing maybe a little bit under the market, but for me, it works out. And it also ends up being a little bit of a difficult situation for margin because I offer free shipping over $35, as I mentioned. And sometimes
Hmm.
people will come in and they'll buy 5 or 6 or 7 because it's the bridal party.
Yeah.
And then that will just kind of, it's not a sure shot on being able to do your margins because shipping gets more expensive as that scales too. And I cover the shipping cost. So it's an ever balancing tightrope.
Yeah. But I totally agree with you. That's like same. I don't want to like so many people come to me, they're like, how am I going to compete with someone charging 7.99? I'm like, they're not charging 7.99.
Yeah.
If you actually go in, like it's so much more. And that's same with me. Like I would just out of principle be like, I'm not paying for that. That's 4 times more than I had clicked on this listing for. So yeah, for me too. And it's good to hear other people have the same opinion. Like I don't do that in my store. My main like who I call my main competitor, aka it's a store that I really want to be like, because they're just like killing it with super high prices. They sell the exact same things as me, but for like probably the highest I've seen on Etsy, and they're making a killing because it brings a different like group of people too. So I'm very big on not trying to like yeah fake people out on the pricing. I don't think it works in the long run.
Yeah, and that's my mentality. And I think there is room for more of that on just this is what it charges. And maybe it does mean that we have to be a little bit more creative with our mock-ups or have a
Yes.
way better customer service ranking. But I think that there's a lot of people that are willing to pay a little bit more because of that experience, which is why it's kind of cool that print on demand is continuing to go that way. They'll offer like branded inserts or fun
Yep.
little packaging. Like there's plenty of options to like elevate your brand. And it's good you always keep, I'm always trying to keep my eye on who's the top dog as well.
Yeah. Yeah, and it's true. If people like what you're selling and you're not like someone who's just stolen a bunch of other people's designs, like they're gonna buy from you. Like they like
Yep.
your design. And I don't think that's a big like deterrent. Yes, people come in and they steal from you, which is the annoying part, and then they undercut you like quite a bit. But that person, if you check their store, that's all their products is just undercutting, stealing things. Versus I think when you have that creativity to think about how to create something new that people want, like that's a way better skill than yeah, kind of those.
I agree. Preach.
For new sellers, do you have kind of your biggest tip for people who are wanting to start print on demand or are having trouble right now getting their store up?
Yeah, I would say it's not like a specific, well, I guess a few tips. I would say you get in, what you get out is the tip. And so do your research, not just don't be like us, I guess, research of like how, what would work best in this space to potentially kind of speed that up and know that it's going to take a little bit of time for you to really build that traction. Even if you are like absolutely crushing it, it still takes time. Etsy is a marketplace, so it's utilizing a bunch of data not only from you, but from all these other folks. And so it's constantly changing. And so it might take a little bit of time for things to register that your products are performing well and sticking. So don't kind of give up too soon before you get to that point. And then I would also say to focus on your packaging. And I don't actually mean like your actual packaging. Obviously, if it's terrible and you're using somebody that's bad, maybe that's bad. But I mean the how you're presenting your listings specifically for Etsy. So
Hmm.
a big portion of the sales is getting that initial click. So think through all those different pieces. So what do your mock-ups actually look like? Is the
Yep.
design differentiated? Did you pick your own white space and kind of do something a little bit different? And have you filled out every single nook and cranny on Etsy to show the system who you are and like what your listing is about? And so really try to package your listing as best as possible and just do your research and don't stop. So I guess 3 tips.
Yeah. I like that point about filling every like nook and cranny though, because I feel like that's something I miss, like, or like that a lot of people miss. I'll go into people's stores and they haven't filled in their about me. They don't have their sections. Like, really use as much as Etsy gives you, and they're probably more likely to reward you. Like they've given you a spot to tell them what you're selling. And I do think that's something a lot of people miss.
Yeah, and we've seen that. Like Etsy, originally it was free, and now they make setup accounts be a little bit, you have to actually pay to actually set up an account. They're trying to make it so that way people on the platform are serious about that. And I think we'll continue to see more of that too. But yeah, any opportunity, again, you're just from your laptop, so you've got the time and the resources to just beat boop on there and get some sales.
Yeah, exactly. Thank you so much for joining and for your tips. I'm sure all the viewers are going to learn so much from this. And can you let people know where they can find you?
Yes, so I have recently started a YouTube channel this year, about 8 months ago. It's called Make It Rain, and there I post weekly on all types of different data-driven and super transparent tips, tricks, and hacks on print on demand. So you can find me there. I'm also on TikTok and Instagram with the same handle.
Awesome. And I'll also link your YouTube down below for people in the description in the top comment if you want to go give her a follow. Awesome. Thank you so much for joining.
Yay, thank you.
Bye.
Bye.